From the heart of Tiger Nation, this is where the insiders talk. Real stories, real access, and the pulse of Memphis athletics. You're tuned on beat with BCM. Now, let's get to the show.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of On Beat with BCM here on the Bluff City Media Network. I am Memphis Tigers men's basketball beat reporter for Bluff City Media, Roman Cleary, and I'm joined once again by our women's beat reporter, Shemaria Wiseman, and our football insider, second week on the show, Sam Shoemaker. How are y'all?
I'm great. I am great. Excited to be here.
I'm good. I'm excited to be here. We, I guess, a rough week of Memphis sports, so we have a lot to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we certainly do. But beyond the respective rough weeks that I think every team across the board at the University of Memphis had, except for women's soccer, of course, they defeated Illinois in the first round of the NCAA tournament. They'll take on TCU in Fort Worth in the second round on Friday. But beyond that, was there anything interesting that happened with y'all this week?
No, sir, but I think the women's soccer team will continue to be the beacon of hope that this city needs, especially with the Grizzlies struggling and everyone else here struggling. So I don't know, continue to support those women. I think they do a great job. Of course, we know all of what Brooks Monaghan has done. Great work there on South Campus.
Yeah. Shemaria, anything interesting on your end?
Nothing interesting, but shout out to the Memphis women's soccer team for sure.
Yeah, I want to give we are all journalists here on this network. We are all reporters that cover teams and athletic programs. And I think we saw a pretty big win for sports journalism this week when, you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals game that took place on Sunday, have Jamar Chase flat out lie to the media saying, I didn't spit on Jalen Ramsey. That didn't happen. And then, ironically enough, it was a Cincinnati TV news reporter who ultimately breaks out the footage that shows that Jamar Chase did indeed spit on Jalen Ramsey, which, of course, prompted Ramsey to punch him and subsequently get ejected from that game. And it's pretty wild that, looking back, that Ramsey was the one that got kicked out. Nothing happened to Chase, but I think Chase, with that one-game suspension that was just put on him, I think that is the debt repaid right then and there. But moving on, I think it's time to get to the big topic of the day, or the big topics of the day. We're going to start with Memphis men's basketball because this season might be heading towards a pretty dark path overall. I mean, they're down to 1-2 after, quite frankly, an embarrassing loss to UNLV inside FedEx Forum. 92-78 was the final. The Run Rebels, of course, led by former Memphis coach Josh Pastner, that led by as many as 21 points. And Memphis tried to make a little push towards the end, but it was too little too late. Very, very poor execution, both offensively and defensively. And I said this on Tigers Live immediately after the game. It was a very eye-opening, astonishing performance that drops Memphis down to 76 in KenPom. And it's probably going to get worse before it gets better, considering Memphis' current circumstances with the roster. The talent just clearly isn't where it's been in previous years. And you now have to face at least 5 top 45 KenPom opponents over your next 8 games. That includes Purdue, of course, on Thursday. We'll get to that in just a second. There's Louisville, there's Mississippi State, there's Baylor, there's Vanderbilt, and you could potentially get Texas Tech on Friday as well. Probably not, but you could. Either way, Memphis is a very, very hard road ahead and probably won't be seeing many bright days until they get to the American Conference part of the schedule. And considering how bad they're playing right now, that may be in question as well. Shemaria, I know that you're on the other side of the hoops conversation right now, women not doing too much better. But what have you been seeing from Penny Hardaway's crew that has potentially led to some of the issues that we've seen here?
I think it's just he kind of mentioned this in the press conference that I watched. Very defeated demeanor. Of course, this was a bad loss, so as expected from Coach Penny Hardaway. But it's just wanting to see fight from Aaron Bradshaw. wanting to see something from him. He was completely terrible last game. I want to say he did come off the bench. I think he came off the bench. So I think that the goal was to try to, get a spark going out of him. Why I feel like that he did have him coming off the bench in that game. But it's just been overall disappointing to see just the performance of Aaron Bradshaw. Also, Doug McDaniel also didn't have a good game, 1 for 10. I want to say he had a heck amount of turnovers also in that game. But the lack of performance from your star players, you just want to see effort. You want to see fight from the men that you pick to play for your team. I think those are eye-opening things that I noticed in that UNLV game.
Yeah, I've talked about this pretty extensively already, and I've covered it pretty extensively. Aaron Bradshaw, I think Memphis is at the point where he's unplayable. That's just the reality of the situation. Zach Davis, the transfer from South Carolina, the wing, 6'7". He isn't too far behind. He did redeem himself a little bit with his 6 points in the second half, but he did that only to foul out. Zach Davis has been a fouling machine. He makes zero effort to defend without fouling. You just see, a pretty poor energy and pretty poor effort, enthusiasm, whatever you want to say, across the board from those two specifically, especially considering how reliant you were going to be on both of them to really be anchors on both the wing and the front court respectively. Penny Hardaway, he's been asked about it before. He was asked about it again after the UNLV game, and this is what he had to say post game.
All I can do is just keep trying to give them confidence. It's going to be up to them to go out there and just fight. It's not even about scoring, right? Just go fight. I have to stay optimistic. I have to keep training. I have to keep getting them in film because, again, this isn't March yet. You know what I mean? They can grow. They can get better. Right now, it doesn't look great for us because we're not competing. And it's just the one thing that has to change, and we're going to put guys on the floor. But as far as those two guys, it's going to be those two guys having to do it. They know what we want from them and need from them, and hopefully they'll do it sooner than later.
Penny, to kind of go off that, you made it very clear after the Ole Miss game that you're looking for, I guess, more effort, energy, intensity from those two in particular. Was them coming off the bench this game, was that kind of wanting to send a message or light a fire under their butt? And if so, what do you think of the response to that decision? Yeah,
I mean, just trying to get two veterans coming off the bench and bringing energy off the bench against a team at home, and seeing it first and then having the energy to come in and change the tempo in a positive way. And it just wasn't at the level that we needed yet from both of those guys.
Once again, pretty telling comments about where Penny's at, I think, with both of them. Those two are two of your more talented guys on the team. So if you're Penny, you'd like to play them more, I'm sure. But they're not giving the effort and the energy necessary to even stay on the floor. And the production, quite frankly, hasn't been there either. They're both averaging just 4 points a game. They're also both averaging 3.3 personal fouls per game. So they're just averaging 0.7 less fouls than points. Aaron Bradshaw is 7-1. He averages 1.7 rebounds a game. Zach Davis is shooting 25% from the field. He was touted as this defensive anchor. He hasn't really been that so far either. And my view on it personally, as someone who, covers his team and hears the things that I'm hearing, I personally view it as two separate issues with those two specifically. I know it's producing similar results. With Davis, based off of everything I know about him, it's just a pure attitude problem. Just poor attitude, poor approach. It's just completely on him from that standpoint. And with Aaron Bradshaw, I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. I'll be frank, I haven't heard great things about him either. I've actually had some particularly interesting conversations about him specifically over the last couple of days. But I think a lot of people remember back to the interview that I had with Aaron in Birmingham for American Conference Media Day. And I received a lot of criticism for it, and I think some of it was warranted. I think I certainly could have gone into that conversation with a better approach, but I think at the same time, the interview is a bit more revealing now than it perhaps was at the time, because when the uncomfortable conversation came up of how are you going to turn things around from your shortcomings that you had at Ohio State and Kentucky respectively. It got pretty awkward pretty quickly, and I think a lot of that is because he's clearly not over it yet by any stretch of the imagination. I think that kind of manifests itself in the way that he plays as well. He just doesn't bring the physical presence that you think someone at 7 foot would, someone that was a former 5-star prospect, highly touted and highly talented guy. I think there are some effort issues there, but at the same time, I think he's trying. But the physicality isn't there, and I think the mental aspect of it, I think, is really affecting him on this more than what might meet the eye there. Sam, you obviously are very familiar with this as well. Just what have you kind of seen on that front?
I mean, this is just the reality of bringing in 15 new player, just an entirely new roster. Kind of what else do you expect, especially early in the season? And when you're relying so heavily on Davis and Bradshaw, and they just let you down in this manner I mean, things are going to go horribly wrong. And honestly, they kind of have. Just, I guess, more on just the UNLV game in particular, the defense, and Penny's always been a defensive first coach, even since East High School has been a defensive first coach. But this defense is just horrid. And he talks so much about effort. Your rotations are late. There's no talking on those hedging of the screens. The UNLV scored half their points from that dunker spot dump down. And that's just effort because the weak side isn't helping back over. Offense, it's the same Penny issues, right? It's turnovers. It's low team IQ. There's no rhyme or reason to anything on defense or on offense. And it goes back to the fact that this team just doesn't have an identity. And it's hard. And I'm being super pessimistic. And it's funny because the conversation we're having now and we're going to have for each segment on all three sports is going to be similar to the conversation we had last week, just because if the teams continue to lose, that's how it's going to continue to go. And Doug McDaniel had more turnovers than points, or I think it was 6 and 6. I think he had 6 turnovers, 6 points. Yeah. You can't have that. And what's so disheartening about this team is if someone plays such low effort, goes 1 of 10 from the field and has 6 turnovers on any good basketball team, he would get benched. You know what I mean? But of course, Doug McDaniel, he's played basketball for so long. He's played so much college basketball. I guess he's bought that level of trust, but he hasn't bought it here. And for the fans and from an outside perspective, that's so hard to buy into. And right now it's so hard to buy in because you don't know any of the players, and the ones you do, they're playing horrible and they're not getting benched, and they're not getting benched because there's not a better option, And I think, Roman, you hit on it at the beginning where you said, look, this could go down a very dark path, and it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. This UNLV game, Roman, you said it last week. I'm going to keep alluding to your points. You said last week the main storyline of this game should have been Josh Pastner comes back and gets this ovation, and Memphis wins by 30. That should have been the storyline. Yeah, because you're Memphis against UNLV, and this is maybe they're good. I don't know. I don't think this UNLV team is good.
No, they're not. I mean, they lost to UT Martin in Montana.
Right. And UT Martin's not a bad team. I don't know anything about Montana. But I think this game was a lot more telling of Memphis than it was of UNLV. And that's hard to digest this early into the season, to chalk the season this early into the season. But, Roman, I know you've definitely made a lot of these points you've covered because this game happened a few days ago, and you've made all these points. So I guess going forward, what are you expecting from this team? It generally big picture, and also just in the Bahamas. We've seen Tropical Penny do something crazy before. Can he do it before? What's the expectation?
Well, I dropped my Purdue preview this morning. For those who haven't read it yet, it's available on my Substack. in that preview, I basically go over a lot of things to basically get to the general point that I think they're going to get slaughtered. I don't think the Purdue game is going to go well at all. I don't think Memphis has the horses in the front court to match up with Trey Kaufman-Renn specifically. And I think the backcourt can give Braden Smith and company a challenge, but like Purdue's backcourt is still just better across the board, right? So I just don't really see any realistic path for Memphis to have success in that game. Now, the good news is that once you get slaughtered by Purdue, you're likely going to face Wake Forest in the second game on Friday. And given how poorly Memphis has played so far, they're probably still going to be an underdog in that game, but you can find a way to probably compete with Wake Forest a little bit more and at least walk out of Baha Mar with a victory in that consolation game. But even that probably doesn't matter a ton because, again, you still have all these much harder opponents on the way. The reality is that I just don't think there is a path to Memphis getting an at-large bid for the NCAA.
No, I think that's far and gone.
Like that's just probably not going to happen. I think the goal of non-conference at this point is if you can try to get to 500. I don't know how likely that is, but that's the goal. And more so than anything else, just get through it, man. Get through it and see what you can do during the American Conference slate. Because once you get there, you can probably out-talent most of the teams in the league, earn a top 2 seed, go to Birmingham, win 2 games in 2 days, you can get your auto bid to the tourney there. Because the one fortunate thing about this year from Memphis' standpoint is that the American has changed its conference tournament format to where it's kind of like the WCC like route where the top 2 teams in the regular season automatically advance to the semifinals. So Memphis can earn a top 2 seed in this porous American, which if they don't, that's a
the American is so bad this year. It's so bad.
If they can't do that, then we are talking, is this team as bad as a Tubby team? Right?
Yeah.
I don't think it is, but we would be having that conversation if even this Memphis team can't be top 2 in the American by the end of the regular season. But that point aside, if Memphis can earn a top 2 seed in the American tournament, win that in Birmingham, make it to the NCAA, and just see what happens from there, I think you can pencil in this year as enough of a success to push forward at the very least there.
Right. I think this week, or not this weekend, just this Thursday, Friday, you're right. Whatever happens Friday doesn't really matter, assuming you lose that first game, but it does for the vibes. You can't go out of this exhibition tournament 0-2. You just can't do that. I mean, the vibes are already at a pretty all-time low. And the second thing I wanted to talk about was, you say if you do this and this is your path forward, you get enough to push forward. Push forward is, in this context, I'm assuming keep Penny. Like where does this? Because we're going to have this conversation in all 3 segments.
You keep Penny no matter what. Because we're not going to get super deep into this conversation. But first off, Penny Hardaway didn't even build his roster. For the most part, it was Nolan Smith.
Right.
So that's just.
But you gave him that excuse last year too, and it worked because that team was good. So when does he built the roster bit go away?
I'm just, Penny's not getting fired.
Right.
So I just there's no point to even having this conversation because first off, to me, Penny Hardaway is still absolutely the best person for this job because he provides Memphis a fairly higher ceiling than I think most coaches would. And he's probably not going to leave for a power conference job like most coaches of his caliber probably would. Now, he might leave for the NBA one day. He's talked about that a good bit throughout his tenure at Memphis, but he hasn't really had any real opportunities to do that. I know the Magic thing happened a few years ago, but that was never really all that legitimate. So until we get there, unless Penny just wants to call it quits one day, which it could also get to that point. But unless that happens, Penny Hardaway is going to be the coach of this Memphis team moving forward, assuming the program doesn't fall completely off the face of the earth.
Let's play the game. What is the scenario that Penny, where that becomes a real conversation? How bad does the season have to go?
I would say low double-digit to single-digit wins.
Okay.
I wouldn't
Shemaria?
even. I don't think the Penny conversation even happens unless that happens. To be honest,
I've been one that's been skeptical about the coaching of Penny Hardaway too, but I know how much he means to the city of Memphis.
Right.
So I want to trust Roman's words.
Got to. Hashtag trust Roman.
Exactly. Hashtag trust Roman. But I do have a question too about the game. I'm a very positive person, and I know that from that UNLV game, there's a lot of negatives you could take away from that game. However, what were some, key highlights, I guess, from Memphis in that game, from that game?
Julius Tedford, Simon Majak. That's it. Julius Tedford, Simon Majak. I mean, Penny literally said they're going to be the quote-unquote cornerstones moving forward. Those two guys were expected to be role players at best. In Majak's case, he wasn't even really supposed to play. So if you're already in the third game of the season and you're calling those two guys cornerstones, I think that kind of gives you the gist of where this team is right now.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't have a lot of high character in that locker room. The talent isn't where it's been in previous seasons. You're not getting enough out of the guys that I think can propel you, Sincere Parker particularly. The fact that he's only playing, 23 minutes and taking 8 shots, that is preposterous.
It's 16. You only played 16 against UNLV.
Oh, yeah, 16. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I think Trey makes a decent point here. Majak could certainly be a future piece. He's got the talent to do that, but right now, he is just so raw that you can really only use him in spurts. And he's apparently a cornerstone now. So,
yeah.
Again, I think it would honestly be unfair to put someone in his position in that spot.
No, 100%.
He wasn't even he hadn't even ever been to the United States of America before a few months ago.
Yeah. I like Shemaria's question of just like the good takeaways, because there isn't that many, but Roman, you hit on it. There is, I guess, if you want to look for positive, there's building blocks. Now, it's a new era of college basketball. Can you keep these guys around? But you have some young cats on this roster, some guys who can stick around. And if you can keep Julius Tedford around, I think Tedford could play on any team in the nation right now. I think he's one of those guys. He could play in a good role anywhere in the nation, whether it be off the bench, maybe as the 5th option or something, even on the best teams. I love Tedford just because you see the effort. I played against him a couple times in high school when he was at Cordova. Man, he was scary. Tedford's one of those guys that made me realize I want to write about sports and not play him in college. He was an animal.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure.
Tedford's awesome.
Yeah, no, Tedford was also made available to talk to reporters after the UNLV game, and man, you just gotta love his energy, if nothing else. Let's take a look.
I try every night. I'm trying to get my guys going. Go guard 94 feet, go down, go get a steal. I try my best to get my guys going because I know how Memphis basketball is. We all dogs. You got to be a dog to be on the floor. So,
I think that's pretty interesting for him to say because he said he tries to get the rest of the team going. He tries to get the energy up. He tries to help his teammates along and give more effort out there, but it's just not happening. And obviously he did it with a smile on his face and he was, upbeat, energetic. He seems to still have a pretty positive view on things because I think that's just the type of guy he is. That's all we've seen from him in the 2 times we've gotten to talk to him since the season started. But I think there's still an underlying, negativity there that even when you have one of your teammates trying to amp you up, trying to get up there, like trying to, boost the energy, you're still not even responding to that. You're not responding to the coaching. And as Penny's alluded to countless times at this point, the guys that aren't responding are the guys that he needs to respond. the Bradshaws, the Zach Davises he's called out specifically. There are others behind the scenes as well. I can assure you that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Memphis just seems to be in a tough spot right now overall.
Yeah. Roman, being at the game, I had a question because I wasn't at the game, just watching on the TV broadcast. Was there because we hear about effort issues. Was there a communication issue? Did you feel like, I don't know if that's something you could pick up on from where you were, but it looked like visually there was a severe lack of oneness on defense, severe lack of communication on defense. Is that something maybe you picked up on, maybe you noticed?
I mean, yeah, I think we've seen, though, communication issues both offensively and defensively for Memphis manifest pretty early in seasons generally, and that certainly extends to this team. I actually don't know how bad of a spot the defensive side is in. I look at all the points off turnovers that we saw Auburn score in the exhibition game, the points off turnovers that UNLV got on Sunday's game, 30 points off 18 turnovers. I think the root of the problem exists in the fact that Memphis has no offensive cohesion right now. They have no real offensive system. If it's not an easy cut to the basket or a three-pointer, they just seem lost. And you see them let the shot clock run down, not move the ball all that well. The half-court offense just isn't where it needs to be. And we've seen Penny teams fix that before and improve it. But I think with this team, the problem is that they don't really even have anyone that can talent their way out of the problems early on in the season and generate the wins that Memphis is going to need to turn the season around.
Certainly. Yeah. Just the talent just isn't there like in the past. There's no identity to this team. For sure.
Maybe they can use you, Sam.
Man, can I walk on, coach? No, Trey, to answer your question, the answer is no. I did in high school, but there's a reason I'm talking about it right now. But yeah.
I mean, he tried walking onto the women's team pretty much a couple years ago.
I was a practice player for Alex Simmons, which was a blast. That was fun. That was a lot of good runs. But no, to answer your question, Trey, not a hooper, man. I play basketball sometimes. Not a hooper though.
Shemaria, you a hooper?
I am not. Same reason. I'm not that good at it. My older brother and my younger sister, fantastic. They played AAU. They played for the school. It skipped me. I just talk about it. I'll just talk about it.
Yeah, got to scratch the itch somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that would suck. I have no hoopers in my family. I have none. Right? I mean, that's necessarily true, but I don't have any high-level hoopers in my family, so I can't say it skipped me.
I have a couple fun stories, but I played.
How brutal is that?
Yeah, I played against Curtis Givens at the FedEx Forum one time when he was at MUS. He hit a game winner against us at the FedEx Forum. That was tough. And then Bedford put about 30 on me a couple times. So that's as far as my experience goes with this team.
No. But Shemaria, how brutal is it that it skipped you?
It hurts, especially since I'm also the tallest out of my siblings. So it really, really hurts. But I've been blessed still to be around it because my siblings do play it. So I've got to see some very talented players in Memphis. My brother played against and all of that stuff. So but yeah, overall it does hurt because I wish I could play. I really wish I could.
So we're looking at, the non-conference schedule, just the future here. I think you're hoping for Memphis. If you're Memphis, you're hoping 1-1 in the Bahamas, even though I don't know how likely that is at this rate. If you go to Ken Palm, they project Memphis to finish at 4-9. If you also count the Utah State game that they're going to play in February, you think it's over or under that or at that?
Shemaria?
I think it's at that.
So you think 4-9?
Mm-hmm.
That's wins over Southern Illinois, New Orleans, and Alabama State. And
right,
obviously.
But those aren't automatic though, because New Orleans beat Tulane. Yes, I'd say Southern Illinois you can get, but Alabama State beat UAB. Now, things would be awful if you lost those games, but look, at the end of the day, you can't take anyone for granted because you lost to UNLV, and UNLV is not good.
They're not.
So now, if it's anything less than that, that's really bad. I think a good goal for Penny and his squad to look forward to is maybe 500 in non-con, but it's a pretty lofty goal right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Baylor at home is somewhat beatable. I think you can maybe get that. You can maybe get Vanderbilt because again it's at home. Mississippi State is on the road, but they're not the highest level opponent. I mean, they're 45th in KenPom, so still very good, but they're not Purdue good, so maybe that's gettable. But man, I feel like there's way too many maybes in that.
100%.
You got way too many maybes there.
Too many things have to go right for that to happen. So
yeah,
we'll see.
So, I mean, we'll see, right? Because Hassan Abdul-Hakim still hasn't played yet. Tariq Ingram still needs to get the conditioning there. He was able to play 4 minutes. He was able to play 4 minutes against UNLV. They're taking baby steps with him now, right?
Yeah, it's better than nothing.
The goal, I guess, get it up to double digits. And then by February, he's the starting center.
Yeah, I still don't know what to expect out of Tariq Ingram. I mean, you saw 4 minutes, and his 4 minutes weren't bad. He got a couple buckets in there, but what can you expect from Tariq Ingram going forward? I don't know.
I mean, in all seriousness, I think he is pretty skilled offensively, and if he can get to a point where he can stay on the floor for extended stretches, then I don't know. I think he can do something.
Right.
I mean, he showed that ability at Rider for sure, and
it's a Rider.
Bradshaw. I mean, even Bradshaw can probably out-talent a lot of people in the American. But again, you have to survive the non-conference first. And given the current state of things, I just don't know if it's survivable. I mean,
right.
I was like on Tigers Live, I was pretty blunt about where I thought things are. I just don't see. I just don't see a great path forward. I think at this point, the best you can hope for is win the American and make the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty optimistic outlook. That's an optimistic outlook on Aaron Bradshaw saying he's going to dominate the American, or at least hang in the American. Because I didn't say
dominate.
My fault. My fault. Right. I still don't even know if he can play in the American because that's how bad it's been. But that'll remain to be seen for sure.
Super disappointing.
Shemaria, you believe in Aaron Bradshaw?
Nah. I don't know. I don't give up on players too easily. It's not me. But the fact, once again, reiterating what was said in like the very first live, like that was supposed to be him and Doug were supposed to be the best players, without a doubt, on this roster. And the fact that it's been the complete opposite, Kenny, it's crazy.
That's good.
I mean, at least Kyrie's a good player on the court.
Right.
Kyrie's issues are off the court.
Oh, that's true.
Aaron Bradshaw's both. Aaron Bradshaw's definitely both.
Right.
But I think you'll see better performances out of Doug. He likely won't shoot 1 for 10 again. Parker's just got to get the ball more. But I think just we're running in circles here, right? Memphis is not in a great spot right now. But we'll move on, and when we return, we will switch to the gridiron because Memphis football has fallen short once again. They lose at East Carolina and are pretty much officially out of the American title conversation. We'll talk about that more when we return.
And whatever, I get it. It's year 7. We've heard it a lot, but literally everything is always the same. It's the same quotes after we lose a game. It's the same quotes after we win a game. It's the same quotes on his coach's show when somebody's questionable injury-wise. Oh, well, they need to prepare for 3 quarterbacks. We're probably going to play all 3 of them. It's the same freaking every time I see a hype video from the locker room and he's giving a pregame speech, it's the same damn pregame speech. For 60 minutes, relentless effort, do your job. It's the same thing every time. Freaking ChatGPT a hype speech or some shit. I'm so sick of hearing the same stuff. We should have got rid of him 3 years ago.
Oh,
I don't know about that.
Whoa.
It's not going to go there.
Tune in to Tigers Untapped with your hosts, Trey Lasley and TJ Willis, every Tuesday at 3 p.m. on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel. In the heart of the Highland Strip for 27 years, Trilogy Tattoo has helped tell stories for Memphians for generations. Located at 530 South Highland, Richie and his team are waiting to help you tell yours.
From tattoos to piercings, your body art should be as unique as you are. Voted a Memphis Flyer top 3 tattoo shop in the city of Memphis since day one. Your story will be safe here at Trilogy Tattoo.
Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 11 to 11, and 3 to 11 on Sundays. They have convenient times waiting on you. Let Trilogy Tattoo help you tell your story.
We are back here on Beat with BCM, November 19th, 2025. Memphis basketball in the Bahamas taking on Purdue tomorrow. But Memphis football is off this week after taking their 3rd loss of the season at East Carolina. They're now, again, 8-3 and pretty much all but eliminated from the American Conference conversation in terms of, winning the title, going to the college football playoff, that kind of thing. I feel like the discussion is going to be a lot of what we said last week. But Sam, just what did you make of what we saw from this team on Saturday?
It was so disappointing, Roman, because fans, as they do, foolishly got their hopes up. And they got their hopes up because South Florida lost to Navy. Everything was going right. You know what? Maybe this Memphis team can make a run. Maybe this is the team of destiny. Silverfield always talks about how much he believes in these guys. He really, really believes in these kids. So that must mean something, but it doesn't. You lost to ECU. ECU's, they're a fine team, but at the end of the day, Memphis is just like every other American Conference team. There's just a level, and they're all there. And Memphis just happened to lose a couple games they couldn't have. But it's just so disheartening. You're 8-3, and we love to talk about Silverfield. 10 wins. And guess what? He's probably going to get 10 wins this year just because that's 8-3, win against Navy, win your bowl game, 10 wins, stay on, get your $25,000 bonus and get your contract extended a year. I don't know who his agent is, but to have that clause written in is just fantastic. Fantastic for Silverfield. But as far as the game itself, this is one of those games that it kind of felt like Memphis was going to win the whole time. I don't know if that was just me looking from like a tiger stripe lens until they didn't. We love the Silverfield double-digit convo, but that's double-digit win, but that's in jeopardy now that you have this loss. And things are more or less like it's just disappointing. I don't know a better way to put it. And we had the exact conversation after the Tulane loss. And I don't know how public this is. This is just because I'm following the players and I'm seeing this isn't like an inside source or anything. I don't know if Roman, you have the Antoine Hill's dad's tweet. And then you have Malachi Breland.
I wasn't going to segue to that yet, but we can talk about that. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Shoot. Why not just sound that off?
Here we go.
That's Antoine Hill Sr. Antoine Hill Jr. was, of course, the 3rd string quarterback that Memphis is paying $500,000 right now. The freshman, one of the highest rated recruits in program history. And his dad comes out and says this. cryptic, since deleted. And Memphis had 80 new players on this roster, and it might just be a repeat of the exact same thing. And then Memphis is good. They have the most money in the conference. They're going to compete. They're going to do the exact same thing again next year. Get your hopes up and disappoint you. It's just a cycle of apostasy with this Memphis football team. So I think it's kind of what you expected, yet you didn't expect this bad. You expect to be disappointed. They constantly come up with new ways to disappoint you, and that's what impressed. It's what stuck out to me about this team. A new way to disappoint you that they've never done before.
Shemaria, you look at a tweet like this, like AJ Hill is supposed to be the future of this program, right? At the quarterback position, first ever 4-star quarterback recruit that Memphis football has ever landed. You're kind of expecting him to take over for Brendan Lewis after the season and for the next 4 seasons going forward. Again, taking that red shirt year this year. When you see a tweet like this, how concerned are you? How serious should you think we take this?
Very serious. Anytime a player on a roster comes out and publicly shows their frustration, obviously you got to take it for what it is. He's frustrated.
Oh, this is his father. This is father.
Oh, father, sorry. But okay, the parent, sorry. The parent comes out and makes a comment about the team that their child is on. You got to take it for what it is. I don't want to say that. But yeah, kind of with what Sam said, I agree. This was a game that you kind of feel like the Tigers could have gotten. What it said, they took a late lead, 27-24. Ultimately just fumbled the game. I mean, I don't know. I just know that Coach Silverfield days are years are numbered from what I'm getting, basically.
I don't think so. I think he's going to be here as long as he wants to be.
No,
as long
they're
not. His contract's getting extended every time he gets to 8 wins by a year. And he's not Ed Scott's hire. Ed Scott may want to can him, but at the end, he has a floor. He's a floor coach. He has a floor of being all in. And that means something to some people.
So, I mean, but again, like I said last week, how real is the all-in thing when you have the same shortcomings every year, you make the same mistakes every year, and you're missing the American Conference Championship game yet again, despite being the highest funded football program in the G5. Again, we had this whole discussion last week, so I don't want to harp on it too much. But I think it just – the Silverfield experience, I think, is getting very stale 100%. For a lot of the fan base. So I think the frustrations, for him are certainly warranted there.
Yeah, and we honestly don't even have to spend too much time on this football convo because it's a convo we had last week and it's a convo we've been having for 6 years. You know what I mean? If you can't get the job done, you can't get the job done. At the end of the day, the goal of football or just any sport is to win. It's to win your conference, win the title. And I don't know if you can do that with this current regime. Now, I don't know if that's under consideration, but I'm talking in circles. This is a conversation we've had. And guess what? It's going to be the same thing next year. Because they might get it done next year. You never know. They might. It's a possibility. But it's going to be an entirely new roster. Trey commented it. You saw Malachi Breland and Sutton Smith. They just signed with NIL agencies. That may mean nothing. They may be back. But at the end of the day, they're starters on this team with extra years of eligibility left. And those guys don't stick around. Starters on Memphis who could return don't stick around. That's a rarity in today's college football. So you're expecting your best players to leave. I think that's fair to expect. You're expecting to pay the most money to get more transfers in who don't know each other, who don't have chemistry, and then they're going to be all in, and you're going to win at least 9 games, and that's fun. 9 games isn't bad. It's just not winning, and that's what you expect.
I'm seeing a lot of the bowl projections that have been coming out recently the last couple of days, and I mean, there's some prominent bowl casters out there saying that we could be getting a third go of Memphis and Iowa State in the Liberty Bowl. Mm-hmm. Shemaria, you want to see that again? You want to see round 3 with Iowa State, Liberty Bowl?
Whatever, I guess that. Yeah, whatever. Obviously, I would want the college playoffs, but
I
Oh.
you might as well just make it a yearly rivalry at this point.
Right. Shemaria is indifferent, and that's just indicative of what this fan base is. Like, people just don't really care anymore, just because, guess what? The Liberty Bowl isn't what you're playing for. You're not. Yeah. Just indifference, lack of winning. That's all. That it's so simple. We could have this conversation forever. If you don't win, people aren't going to like you. Simple.
Yeah.
Trey wants to see round 3. It's at least one guy who wants to see round 3.
Yeah. I mean, look, if it happens, I'll be there. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Probably not going to travel to a bowl game.
I went to the first one in 2017.
Yeah.
It was miserable. And man, I've been to both, but when I was at the first one, I've never been that cold in my life.
Yeah.
Ever. Like it was. I felt like I was going to get frostbite.
Yeah. It kind of felt like that. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Roman.
Yeah, like I think Riley Ferguson and Anthony Miller were about to as well. Those two were lining up defenses all season that year. They couldn't do nothing in that weather.
Yeah, I think the Iowa State 2023 Liberty Bowl win, that's what if things went right, that's what a lot of people wanted to point to as like a momentum shifter. You know what I mean? Because you win that one, and then you just start winning. And then last year you have a good season, can't get it done. And then this year was like the season to get it done just because of how well the schedule set up. You have all your hardest comp at home, and then you just couldn't get it done. And it felt like this season felt like so much momentum got derailed because you started to believe in Silverfield again. And that's the cycle. You're going to believe if Silverfield stays on at Memphis, you're going to start believing in him again. I've fallen guilty to it. And guess what? He might get it done eventually. Who knows?
Yeah, I like the last 2 seasons have been exactly the same script. They start out hot. They actually beat the big power conference team on their schedule, and you're thinking, wow, they're breaking through. This is the year. And then they lose a conference game they shouldn't lose to a comparable opponent. The only difference this year is that they lost to another comparable opponent. Last year's team only had 2 losses.
Right.
And I still think this year's team is actually better than last year's team was. That's the funny thing. Obviously, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, but it is a fun conversation to have. But I think you're right. Like they're all the same. Like one might be this much better, this much better. They're all the same, Roman.
Yeah, all the same. And the results, unfortunately for Alex Simmons' crew, remain the same as well.
Good segue, Roman. Okay. Good segue.
They put up a fight. They really put up a fight against Ole Miss. Led 52-1 at the end of the third quarter, and you're thinking, is this team going to go from losing to Arkansas Pine Bluff at El Morone Fieldhouse to what? Like 2 weeks later, beating Ole Miss in the same building? It was not to be. 32-12, Ole Miss combined in the fourth quarter and overtime, and they send the Tigers packing along their merrily way to 2-3. And you're now left with even more questions and answers. Shemaria, you were obviously at the Fieldhouse last night covering this game. So just give us your overall view of what you saw.
What a game it was. Coming before they played Ole Miss, they took on Ball State and got completely, slaughtered. They lost to Ball State. I have it right here. 83-59. So they're about to play one of the best teams in the nation, a team that's top 15. Of course, they just got slaughtered by Ball State. So of course you're expecting them to get slaughtered by Ole Miss. But Memphis came out and actually played very decent for a majority of the game. This is a game that they led majority of 28 minutes to be exact. Naja Richmond started this game, which was her first start of the season so far. So you got this. So you got to see the Shea Harris and Deja, those two players being the best offensive players, kind of work alongside each other. They both finished with their career highs. Shea Harris had 24 points and 4 threes, which was all of the she shot all of Memphis' threes once again. And Deja Richmond had 22 points. So yeah, then obviously another thing was their defense that pushed them over the edge as well. They were able to hold Ole Miss to shooting. I think they shot 38 points. They made 38 points in the first half, which was the lowest they were held to so far this season in a half. They also just kept them below their season average of 88 points, even in OT. So their defense was something that was a positive to look at, and then you seeing the production from the guards. And one of the issues is that's been an issue for the last season. The start of this season was just a late game execution, and more than likely the tiredness that the players experienced in OT and late in the fourth quarter. They let the lead slip. Ole Miss responded like any Sweet 16 team would, outscoring Memphis 32-12 in the fourth quarter in overtime. It was. I say it's what a game because once again, nobody expected this game to be close, like whatsoever. Memphis was able to get people talking about the game on the timeline, almost an upset. I get that the Tigers ended up losing the game, but I think that there are still, once again, some positives you can take away from them taking on the 13th ranked team in the nation and how they played them. And also, Ole Miss star Cody said that this team was a team that showed adversity. So like kind of like a change in like teams playing, how teams played them, and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a disappointing loss. Not a disappointing. I don't want to say, like, I don't know how to. It was a loss that hurts, of course. That hurts.
I'd say it was pretty deflating overall.
Yeah,
I mean,
I guess that's fair.
Yeah. To be honest, I thought it was a poorly played game from both teams. Just objectively, you saw very poor offensive execution on both sides. The game was a mess. I didn't think it was officiated all that well either.
I agree. There were multiple times.
You saw Memphis get away with a lot of fouls. You saw Ole Miss get the ball in situations where it probably shouldn't have gone their way. So it was kind of double-sided there. Like the game was kind of a train wreck in a lot of ways. And when you're in a game like that, it's normally going to favor the home team, and it certainly did there. I mean, you got to give Memphis credit for taking advantage of the situation, capitalizing, and doing what they had to do to stay in this and give themselves an opportunity to win. But at the end of the day, if you're clanking 3-pointers off of the backboard, you just shouldn't expect to win any game at all, even when Ole Miss is blowing bunnies on the other end. So, it was certainly a missed opportunity for Memphis there to get a win, regardless of how ugly it would have been. That really could have turned the season around.
Yeah.
Now, and the good news is that they'll have other opportunities. Again, they got Florida and St. John's on a neutral court coming up pretty soon. Mm-hmm. But again, this just continues to beg the question: what is this team? Like, are they a group that's so bad they're going to lose to Pine Bluff and get blown up by Ball State, or are they going to give Vanderbilt, Ole Miss, all these power conference teams a run for their money? Like, at the end of the day, this team is going to be truly defined by what they do in the American Conference. They just seem to be a very sporadic group right now. They don't have much offense beyond Shea Harris and Deja Richmond, but they seem to be feisty defensively, and they're able to be opportunistic when the other team isn't perfect either. So there's certainly some fight, and I'm interested to see what they do moving forward. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the conversation on this team, two things can be true at once. There was certainly big because you didn't expect them to hang with Ole Miss, so that was encouraging. But yeah, I mean, the way you lost it, just that can't happen. You're up, what was it, 14 with a minute left in the third? You got to get this one. This one was you just got to get. And Roman's right. Like, yeah, what happens in conferences is what's going to matter. You don't even have to like get through the non-con like the men do. Literally, if you compete in conference, you're good. And they seem to have figured something out. I think last week I was talking about how they love to play through the post. They love that elbow offense, and it just wasn't working. And they're realizing, right? They don't have a single post player. They're realizing Shea Harris, she's really good. Deja Richmond, she's really good. That one Hezzy get to the rack and one, that was so sick. But guess what? Memphis last year also had 2 sick guards. They had Tilly Bowler and Dee Hageman, and that didn't mean anything. But I think they're figuring out that, hey, you have to play through these two, and if not, you're just not going to score. You're not going to score the ball. Corey Allen, high profile transfer, 2 of 13, can't score the ball. Jordan Hunter barely played, 20 minutes, took 1 shot, can't score the ball. You don't have scores outside of Shea Harris. And Deja Richmond, I wouldn't consider her a scorer, but she can get to the rack. She can create offense, which I guess oxymoron, I don't know, makes her a scorer. But this team is feisty. You have the defense to do it. They held Ole Miss to their lowest point total of the season. They made it ugly. They did make it ugly. But this is the first Alex Simmons defense you can believe in. And they got that stop at the end of regulation to force OT when it mattered. It may have been a foul on that hedge of the screen, say what you want to say. But, and Shea was the only person to make a 3. How many threes has this team made outside of Shea Harris the entire season? They went 4 of 21, and she made 4. She was 4 of 14. It's a little bit of a hard watch. This team just isn't. Shea Harris is fun. The team is feisty, but it's bad basketball. And I think all those things can be true at once, that you're encouraged you competed with Ole Miss, but really wish you could have gotten this one. But the timeline was talking about Memphis women's basketball in something that wasn't a totally negative you lost to UAPB way. So that's a good takeaway. You're talking about Memphis women's basketball in a positive light. That's a good thing. Yeah.
Alex caught up with reporters after the game was over. Here is an interesting tidbit of what she had to say during her meeting with the media post game.
We had really good prep days. I thought we followed the scouting report again for 4 quarters. I feel like when we got into overtime, the bonus really killed us.
You mentioned fight earlier. When it comes to the rest of the season, looking at the rest of the non-conference slate, you guys go to the Bahamas in about a week to take on St. John's and for the 2 power programs, excuse me. And then you guys move into the conference slate right after. So what does a game like this, even though the result may not be what you're looking for, what does that fight mean to you leading this team as you go throughout the rest of the season?
Yeah, I think, we definitely can't take steps backwards. I think when we perform like that, if anything, there should be some motivation there. I think we have to recommit to our goals that we set for ourselves and just use it as momentum moving forward.
One interesting thing that I heard from that bit that we just showed there is she said that they were killed by the bonus. Ole Miss was in the bonus because you couldn't defend without fouling. Right? I mean, so Shemaria, what do you think they could have defended without fouling there? I think they could have, right?
There were a lot of that. I agree with what you said earlier. The officiating was just overall horrible. There was several calls that they kept reviewing and things like that. But overall, I think they pretty much beat themselves at the end with how they crumbled. I can't blame.
When you can't defend without fouling and you put a team in the bonus like that, that is the definition of beating yourself. When you are within single digits of Vanderbilt in the exhibition and you end up losing by almost 40 points, that is the definition of beating yourself. That doesn't happen without you, constantly having self-inflicted wounds. And I think that's just the biggest issue with this team, of anything. Like, they have heart, but the execution just isn't there consistently enough, particularly down the stretch against quality opponents.
Yeah, Shemaria, do you know what happened to Brooklyn Alexander? I didn't see her playing in this one, and both the Alexander twins, they're not scorers, they're role players, and I think you need those. And we didn't even see Brooklyn out on the court, did we?
I know we didn't see Brooklyn Charlo touch the court.
Okay.
I can't remember Alexander. I know,
I don't know.
Kennedy has getting a lot of minutes, but
yeah, I think it goes back to there's two people on this team who know how to score, and that just puts a lot of pressure. And there's one like real scoring threat, and that just puts so much pressure and burden on her shoulders, on Shay's shoulders. That like, what is this team offensively without her? Do you have an answer? Because I don't.
And that is, I'm sorry.
No, sure. I was just going to ask you, like, someone you're around the team a lot, so just you talk to Alex, you talk to these players. So what are just the vibes you think at this point? Like, where do you think they are from a mental standpoint?
I know the girls just want to fight. They want to. The ladies just want to fight. They want to compete. They want to go out there and give it their all, trying to make defense their biggest push. That's the vibes I get. From my understanding, there's no, there's how do I say it? There's no friction in the locker room. I know this is something that Coach Alex Simmons harps on about holding people accountable and things like that. One issue that actually is going on, I do believe, is just players not committing to what she preaches in the huddles. She said this in the past couple of press conferences. They'll have moments where they'll abide by what she says, and once it's going good, they'll start to doing their own show, doing their own thing, and that's when it just falls through. But I think
it's interesting. Yeah, no, and it's interesting because Alex talked about a buy-in issue last year. She talked about last year's team having a buy-in issue during the preseason when I talked to her, and I think when you talked to her as well. And now she's in season talking about the buy-in issues again. So does that concern you at all from her standpoint, Shemaria?
Of course. Her not gaining the trust of her players to run what she coaches, like that of course is concerning with any team. You can't get your players to buy into what you're preaching, what you're coaching.
Yeah.
What do you think the disconnect is there? Like, why do you think Alex has a hard time connecting with these players in the way that they need to there in order for them to buy in and really buy what she's selling?
That's a good question. I guess it's like I don't want to say it's an ego thing, because then again, like, this team is very tight knit. And she preaches about making sure the players hold each other accountable and things like that. I don't. That's just a good question. I can't really answer that.
Sam, you had a thought there?
No, not too many thoughts on that, but I think you have to earn the right to have your players respect you. I'm not in those practices. I'm not in those locker rooms. I don't know exactly how that's going. But I mean, Alex Simmons, she has one win in her, she's in year 7 or 8 of head coaching experience, including 5 at Gardner-Webb. You have to earn the right. And she had one good season. She went 29-5 her last season at Gardner-Webb. She didn't win 20 games before that. She hasn't won here. I know she won as a player, but at the end of the day, it's similar to every other sports conversation ever. You got to win games. And it's hard to get people to buy in. Like, people are okay taking lesser roles when they're winning, but it's hard to take a lesser role when you're losing, because you're going to sit back and be like, if I had a bigger role, we would win. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just hard because you're losing and you're not playing, but you're talented enough to be D1. So you were probably the go-to player in high school, right? So I know in my sports playing career, if the team was winning and I wasn't playing, cool. But if the team's losing and I'm not playing, I think it's an ego thing. It's an ego thing, 100%. But like, it's an understandable ego thing. Like, if I'm playing D1 basketball, I think I'm good enough to play D1 basketball. Put me in, coach. Run the offense through me.
Well, the women take on East Tennessee State and Louisiana Lafayette before we come on here next Wednesday. Shemaria, what do you expect out of both of those matchups there?
I expected them to defeat ETSU. This ETSU currently, or sorry, they've only won one game so far this season. Their one defeat did come to Claflin, so I expect them to beat ETSU, and I also expect them to beat LA Lafayette for sure. So I expect 2-0. But the thing is, they're also still looking for their first home. They're still looking for their first home win before they go back on the road. I want to say Lafayette, maybe the
ETSU and Louisiana Lafayette are both at home, and then you have Florida and St. John's neutral.
That's when they okay. But I expect them to 2-0.
This is cool. Buck Lau, she moved to this person moved to Memphis from Taiwan, and now Memphis women's basketball is their thing. They've been going to see this team for 10 years.
That's awesome. What do we have to see? What has to happen in this program for them to make the tournament? It's a question for anyone. Because Buck Lau wants to see the Tigers in the tournament. Maybe not this year, maybe not this team, but this program. Something has to change. And if you've been loyally attending for 10 years, you deserve a tournament appearance. That's my theory.
Yeah. I mean, pressure's really on. You got to get Buck Lau to the tournament now.
Pressure's on.
The thing is, I think that this is a team that has the talent. You just gotta.
You think this team is more talented than last year's team?
Oh no, I don't. It's not more talented than last year's. But
last year's team had hoopers. Last year's team had hoopers. They stunk, but they had hoopers.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's not the story again this year. At the end of the day, just start winning. All is good. Don't win, all is bad.
Well, we are going to see some hoopers next time or tomorrow when Memphis men's basketball takes on Purdue, but I don't know how many of them are going to be on Memphis's side there. But you are going to see Purdue, and you can come watch that game with us, Bluff City Media, at Mugshots Grill and Bar, West Poplar location. We're going to have a watch party there. And after that, we're going to be hosting Tigers Live from the restaurant. Kenny and I will be there in person, and Francis Carlotta, our Tigers Live host, our esteemed host of Tigers Live, he will be there hosting the show virtually. Again, Kenny and I and multiple personalities from Bluff City Media will be there in person. Come hang out with us, come meet us, come check us out. And, but Mugshots is just a great spot to watch a game. They got great food. They got beer specials. They got the large screen TVs. It's going to be flowing through there. We're going to get started at 4:30 p.m. tomorrow afternoon with the tip. Memphis and Purdue live on CBS Sports Network at 5 o'clock. Again, come join us for that if you can. But that is going to do it for another edition of On Beat with BCM here on Bluff City Media. Now, men's basketball is going to be hosting Southern Illinois inside FedEx Forum at 7 o'clock next Wednesday. So we're going to be airing the show at 5 o'clock next Wednesday, 2 hours before that Memphis versus Southern Illinois game beforehand. So be here, Bluff City Media, 5 o'clock next week. But for Sam Shoemaker, for Shemaria Wiseman, and everyone on the Bluff City Media Network, this is Roman Cleary signing out. We will see you all next week.
Thank you for listening to this episode of On Beat with BCM. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to the Bluff City Media YouTube page. We'll see you back here next time.